Big Podcast.
It's Build a Big Podcast, the marketing podcast for podcasters. David Hooper with you, doing a show without a net, with no outline. I've never done this before. I always come in prepared, but I've got something that I've been thinking about. It is the perfect time to do it because I'm in the middle of recording this new audiobook. The new book, it's coming out in just 3 weeks. It's called 101 Podcast Episode Templates. You can pre-order the Kindle version right now for 99 cents on Amazon. Anyway, working on the audiobook, finishing up the last elements of that. The iPad that I'm reading on, didn't have it plugged in, it ran out of juice, so I've got no script to work from. Also, no script to work from, no outline even, this episode. So it may be a little bit rough around the edges. However, it's something really important. It is something that Americans are facing right now, which is the baby formula shortage. You may have heard about this. What does that have to do with your podcast? I'm going to tell you. First, bigpodcast.com. That's the website. If you want to grow your podcast, get more people to it, have more people care about what you do, make more money with it, bigpodcast.com. That is where to go. I've got a weekly newsletter. I've got this podcast that you can subscribe to, bigpodcast.com. Let's talk about baby formula. You may have seen this, and this is happening really with a lot of things right now. We are experiencing a supply chain, let's say, problem. A lot of stuff is not being manufactured in the United States. Therefore, when a country where a lot of things are manufactured, like China, is having issues because of COVID and other things where they can't get the stuff that they manufacture to us, it becomes an issue. We make baby formula, at least 99% of it from what I read, here in the United States. But 4 factories, one of them shut down because of salmonella or some kind of outbreak, which made it not safe to manufacture baby formula. Anyway, you put all your eggs in one basket, and when that basket has a problem, you've got a problem. That's what happened with baby formula. That's the reason. We simply don't have options for baby formula. I want you to think about this as it relates to your podcast, maybe as it relates to your business. If you are reliant on one stream of income, you could have that kind of problem. What happens when that one stream of income, it gets made illegal, it gets regulated, it goes away simply because it's not that popular anymore? IBM Selectric typewriters used to be a big business. They were in every office. Not so much anymore. Fax machines, corded telephones. There are a lot of things that were very popular at one time. They are no longer popular. I was certainly in this business in music. We used to put music on a piece of plastic, piece of vinyl, send it out. Internet came along. It opened some channels, but it closed others. We had to pivot. The music industry, as far as live events, when COVID happened, you're making a lot of money during live events. Can't do that anymore. Not when there's a pandemic. You have to pivot. And that's what we're seeing right now. You may be in the same kind of situation. Let's call it the baby formula problem. You've got this one thing that's either bringing you money. You've got one element of distribution. You've got one element of advertising that you are very heavily reliant on. What happens if it goes away? This is a quick episode. Like I said, I'm just waiting for this iPad to charge up. No outline. I'm not going to go too deep into it, but I don't really need to for you to get the point. I want you to look at how you're making money, how you bring in new people into your business, how you are distributing your product, how you're advertising your product. If you've got one thing and that goes away, you're in trouble. And here's something for you to think about regarding your podcast. A lot of people are reliant very heavily on Apple Podcast. You submit your podcast to Apple Podcast, and then all these other apps, they also use Apple Podcast to get your podcast to their app clients. What happens if it goes away? Are you everywhere? Are you on Spotify? Are you on Stitcher? Are you every single place that your podcast needs to be? And then what happens if podcasting goes away? Do you have emails? Do you have direct contact to your people? Do you have mobile phones, physical addresses? When one thing goes away, can you switch to something else? I'm not a doom and gloom guy. I don't think everything's going to hell, but sometimes things happen. Consider it in your business. Take a look at it. The baby formula problem. You don't want to have the baby formula problem in your business with your podcast, with what you're doing. My suggestion is for you to distribute your podcast wherever you can. I've got a list of dozens of distribution outlets. They will be linked in the episode notes, podcast.bigpodcast.com. While you were there, subscribe to this podcast. You'll never miss an episode. And this is the kind of thing that I talk about all the time. Growing your audience, getting more people to your podcast, getting more people to care about your podcast, spreading your message, having more impact with that audience. and also making you more money. So do subscribe while you're there, podcast.bigpodcast.com, and I will see you on the next episode of Build a Big Podcast.